welcome back to the Behind the Tee podcast with Rob and Kelly. So, how are you enjoying your long weekend, Rob?
It's been pretty nice. The weather's been good. Happy quarantister to you as well.
Yes, is this actually the second quarantister that we've
Oh, how
experienced?
depressing. May it be the last.
I know, but you know what? I feel like this one has been a little less depressing because we're just used to it now, and we're having fantastic weather. So,
It does help. That and all the curling that's on.
yes. Well, there was no curling on last year, so we have things to keep us preoccupied. And yeah, actually, I don't know about you, but I got a lot of stuff to talk about this week.
Me too. This might be a 3-hour episode.
Maybe, yeah. But before I guess we jump into Worlds Talk, I think we have a couple of things that we want to talk about that is curling related, but not men's world related. So let's jump right into that first. I guess the first piece of news, I think I sent this to you this week, that kind of shook me a little bit. I was quite surprised.
Me too.
But the I don't know if we're thinking about the same thing here. But anyways, I saw a headline that the Jamie Sinclair team from the USA, they're a brand new team that formed this year, and they kind of got together for this Olympic cycle. But unfortunately, they haven't had a chance to play this year, so they basically have to cram 2 years of curling into one.
I don't want to interrupt you, sorry, but we were not thinking the same thing.
Okay, well, we'll get to
I was thinking the return of the swathing, straight cut, sclerotinia club route commercials.
Oh my! Did you miss
Clearly,
them?
that's the big news story.
Oh yeah. Oh well, bigger than this? I don't know.
I know. Well, yeah, we'll get to our swathing, straight cut rivalry. Sorry to interrupt you.
It's okay. So, with a new team, you need to not only do you have to figure out how to play together, but just like whole team dynamic wise and to gel and form as a team. Well, because they missed out a year on that, they made the decision as a team to rent a house and live together for the full Olympic cycle year.
Yes.
I'm just going to let that sink in a little bit.
Is there like a reality show behind this? Are there going to be cameras rolling?
Oh my God. Like a Big Brother style?
Exactly.
That's a good way to monetize it. But I don't know of any other team that's done this. Like, we know teams that will rent a house or something for an event or for like a series, like a group of events, such as like the European teams that come over to Canada for a month. So that's fine. But can you imagine living with your teammates for a
I
full
hope you
year?
really love your teammates.
Well, they don't know each other, so you don't know.
Oh, they don't?
Well, I mean, they know each other, but they don't know each other. That's the whole point of living
Yeah,
together.
this is a big step in that relationship.
Yeah, and as someone who's lived with quite a few roommates during university, it can go either way. You can love
to put it
them
mildly.
or you can hate them. So I think this is a very bold move on their part, and they're not guaranteed the Olympic spot. Like, they have to compete for their Olympic spot.
Right. And I'm just thinking also the only thing I'll give them on this, if you can't tell, I hate this. I hate the idea. But the one thing I'll give them is that from a COVID point of view, that's probably pretty good. They're now part of the same bubble.
That's true.
I guess. But all that aside, I mean,
I also assume that none of them are married or like they're all single. Can you imagine if you have a partner being like, "Hey, I'm not going to live with you for a year"?
I'm piecing out for to be with my curling team for a year. I don't know. I guess.
Anyways, to come, but that was very shocking to me.
I know. And I'm sorry, but like, not to dwell on it too long, because we'll probably get a chance to talk about this for a whole year. But if this doesn't work, and there's a good chance that it doesn't work, I mean, sports are sports. You can do everything in your power to prepare yourself, but that's a lot of, I'm going to call it wasted time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I don't know. I've never been a big fan of these things there's nothing that you can do to guarantee yourself victory in anything. I mean, maybe you can improve your chances, but to me, this just seems totally not worth it.
Yeah, I agree.
Just to put it on a more local level, because we don't really talk about the Olympics with ourselves, but when we were competing in juniors, I remember we used to travel like 12 hours away to go to the provincials, and then the next year the provincials would be 10 minutes from our house. And so I remember what a lot of competitive teams were doing was, even though the provincials one year was all in our backyard, they rented hotel rooms for
Mm-hmm.
a week just to simulate the whole being on the road and game mentality. And I remember just shaking my head at that, going, I would do that if it was for free,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not going to spend $100 a night when I could sleep in my own bed. Is it going to guarantee me winning the provincials? If it did, then okay, I'll listen. But some of the teams that did that ended up doing worse than usual.
Yeah, you make a good point. However, I can accept a local team renting an Airbnb or something for a week for an event, but a whole year, that's next level because you're not curling. Well, I guess they would be curling every day, like if this is their full-time job, but and if there's any tension that starts in the house, like that's gonna be carried over into the team and they're playing. So I don't know. It's really risky.
And I'm just trying to think, maybe you can do the same, of like teams that we've played on having to live together under a roof for a full year.
I wouldn't even want to play with live for a full year with all the teams I've played on. I mean, I love the girls, but I need some space.
Same with me.
Yeah, and just having your own room in the house and then make sure that no one's too messy or whatnot. I don't know. It's a bold move. Bold move. So
So we'll see how that goes.
yeah, I'm sure we're gonna hear more about it next year once that season starts rolling. But
That's it. And I think we had a good idea that this should be a reality show.
definitely, definitely. I think that would hurt their chances to gel as a team even more, but it would be very entertaining for the rest of the world. Oh dear. You know, not a fan of April Fools as much as I loved it as a
Oh,
child, and I think
me neither.
I think this is I think this is like a Quebec thing, but when I was a kid, like you had to like the big April Fool's prank was we'd cut like little fishes
Little
out
fish,
of
yeah.
paper and then you'd like try and stick it on the back of the teacher's back or like
That's right.
anyone's
Poisson d'avril en
Poisson
français.
d'avril. But
Right, or fish day, or April fish
yeah.
instead of April.
So I don't think us the English Canadians do that very much. But anyways, I guess another thing to do on April Fools is to pull pranks on people. But the problem now with the
And
internet,
break my heart.
with the internet, is that if you post something on April Fools, okay, you read the headline and then it takes you a second to realize the date. But if you catch that headline not on April 1st, it takes you a little longer to figure it out. And I think you know what I'm talking about here.
I don't even want to talk about. I'm still mad about this.
I think they've removed the post, but basically, we all know my love for the Patriots and I guess my new hatred for Tom Brady. I don't want to say hatred, but
But he jumped ship.
he
He's a
jumped
traitor.
ship. But I've sent you an Instagram post this week where Sportsnet put a post in partnership with Tom Brady. And basically, it was like Tom Brady announcing that with opening day today, he's excited to announce that they're bringing the Expos back to the MLB 2022. And he's excited to be the first player, coach, owner in MLB history. And I was like, what? And it turned out to be an April Fool's.
But we did call him out on it.
We did. We did not get a response, unfortunately.
No, but Tom, there's still time. We know you're listening. And actually, just to give him a little bit of credit, because I'm looking at the picture now, they did a pretty good photoshopping job of this.
Yeah.
He like it says "Welcome, Mr. Brady" on the scoreboard, although really that should be in French. If they wanted to make it really realistic, they've some nice touches. They did. He went all out on this. I'll give him that. But he broke my heart in the process and toying with me, making me think that the Expos were coming back.
I don't know if it's too late for him to get out of his Buccaneers contract that he just re-signed. But I think if we can get enough people to get this trending on social media, maybe he'll reconsider. So
That's right. We did our part.
yeah, now it's up to you.
We've answered this trivia question before, but Tom Brady was a baseball player and he was drafted by the Expos.
Mhm.
And sadly, he chose football. Huge mistake, Tom. Huge mistake. Should have chosen curling, by the way.
Well, here's the thing. Had he decided to stick with the Expos, them being based in Canada, maybe he would have adopted curling. But then he wouldn't be the Tom Brady that we know today. So
I feel like he might one day try curling because I remember hearing this story that I was curling in Boston once at this really fancy golf and country club that I really felt like, oh boy, I don't belong here. And apparently it was so fancy that like Tom Brady wanted to become a member there, and they had said no to him because it was so exclusive that they didn't want the media following him there to golf. So they told him to go somewhere else. But presumably, if he had gone there, there was a curling club. He might have thrown some
Or
rocks.
maybe that's the story they released, but then he secretly joined under another name.
Maybe,
I don't know.
maybe.
Well, Tom Brady, we're more than happy to accept you in our ladder league if ever you want to move up to Canada and pick up curling.
We're going to have a hell of a team next year, Kelly. It'll be you, me, Brian Mudrick, and Tom Brady.
That's all you need, really.
There you go.
Oh my goodness.
All will be forgiven if he follows us on Instagram.
Okay.
But
We got to make this happen.
yeah.
I guess let's move into Worlds talk. So we kicked off. The Men's Worlds Championship kicked off this past Friday on April 2nd.
And we're recording on a Monday afternoon. Normally we record on weekends, but today's a holiday.
Yeah. So I guess we got pretty lucky that it aligned with the Easter break, and we were able to catch the couple games of Canada. Kind of unfortunate for the Worlds because TSN is broadcasting this. They're only broadcasting the Canadian games and not every draw.
Yeah, that's hard because there have been some really good games with Canada. Like we'll probably get to this, but the Canada versus Switzerland game was really fun to watch. But then there's been some like Canada versus Denmark, Canada versus the Netherlands, not so much.
Did you see Canada versus the US this morning?
Oh dear.
Did you hear it was only the second shutout game, or the last shutout was back in 2007 against Korea.
Right. Although the US did get a point in the end.
Oh yeah, that's true.
To go down, but still, the fact that it was 10-0 after 5, it's
well, and Canada took a 5. I don't know if you saw that end, but it was
the steal of 5. Oh yeah.
Goodness. It could have been more than that too.
And it's funny because the US has been playing so well.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually thinking the US had a good chance of winning that game, and I don't regret saying that. It's just that's how things go sometimes, right?
Maybe they just didn't have time to get their morning Tim Hortons cup of coffee before the game started, and it just got them off on a wrong foot.
We want sponsors, by the way, and we're trying to be nicer to these people that we've previously insulted.
Well, Tim Hortons is a big player in the game, and we love their dark roast coffee now, so. But anyways, I don't know about you, but I have a big bone to pick with the Canadian team. This might get a little controversial.
Okay.
Because TSN is only broadcasting Canada now, I guess I've taken more of a notice on like how the team plays. Like there's there's fewer distractions. And I noticed one thing in the first game, and it was one of those things where like once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I was not sure if what they were doing was technically allowed. And I did a deep dive on this.
Okay.
This has to do with sweeping. So this may be like Broomgate 2.0 here.
Right. And we're not talking about the how they pivot around to sweep backwards. I mean, that really looks weird to me. I still can't get over that. But
I pulled up the rules, okay? This is how it annoyed me so much. So basically there's a thing. So when you sweep, there's supposed to be like technically a back and forth motion. Like you're not allowed to snowplow. And what we mean by snowplow is like you literally just put your broom in front of the rock and glide with it.
Don't move it back and forth.
Exactly. So what you do sometimes see on TV, which is like borderline acceptable, is when rocks are kind of, you have a draw and you're just you have your kind of broom there. You're like lightly cleaning it. Like not even, it's like essentially your broom is just on the ice and then you're just kind of getting ready to sweep. So that's like quite acceptable. But I've noticed Botter's team do, in particular Thiessen, is that he's been putting his whole body weight on the broom and just snow plowing, like not moving it. And it's not a situation where it's like the rock is just kind of a clean and he's just waiting to sweep it. It's like you have Karek, who's closest to the rock, pounding the broom, and then you just have Thiessen there like putting his whole weight down,
leaning on his
alarm bells are going off in my head, and I'm like, that's illegal. I think you shouldn't be able to do that. And then I was like, well, why didn't I notice this in the Brier? I was like, oh, are a lot of teams doing this? Or that's why we didn't really notice. But it was like only Team Canada that was doing this in the Worlds. because he did to
Oh,
all the
very
games.
interesting.
And I spoke to someone who has done research in brooms, if you will, but it's not to keep the ice clean. It's really not. Like there's some directionality, sweeping, carving, as Cheryl would say, going on. Like it's intentional. So I pulled up the rules to see like, am I correct or am I just being annoying? And I think I know why we did not pick this up during the Brier. The Canadian rules differ from the world's rules. The rules from the WCF are a lot more ambiguous, open for interpretation. So the sweeping rule for Canada, Rule 8.
Oh, he even got the number.
Oh, yeah, we're prepared. So given that the intent of sweeping is to keep the path of the stone clean and to take a stone farther, 3 points. So 8A, there must be brush head movement in the sweeping motion. And then the sweeping motion shall not leave any debris in front of a moving stone. And the final sweeping motion shall finish outside the path of the stone. So there must be brush head movement, which means you cannot just leave your broom head there.
Leave it there and coast it.
Exactly, which he's like obviously doing.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Do you think it makes a difference, though, the fact that he's not the lead sweeper? Like, Carrick is the one closer, right? So does it even matter?
I think so because I saw him doing it when he was the lead sweeper as well.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh boy. Okay. Sorry to interrupt. What's the next rule?
So for the WCF, the rule is worded slightly differently. R7A, the sweeping motion can be in any direction. It need not cover the entire width of the stone, must deposit no debris in front of a moving stone, and must finish to either side of the stone.
Okay, that's something that's different, right? Because when we were learning how to curl, there were pretty strict rules about the direction that we could go in. And now pretty much anything goes. Post Broomgate, you can pretty much do whatever you want with legal heads.
So for the Canadian, it's kind of like they phrase it and there must be brush head movement in the sweeping motion. So you have to like, the brush head has to move. Whereas the world is the sweeping motion can be in any direction. So you can make the argument that like, well, you know, the broom head is moving in the same direction as the rock. So I personally still like, I don't interpret it that way, but you can make the argument that that's it. So it's technically allowed? I don't know.
And my question is to what end? Like, why is he doing this?
Oh, I
Is
think
it just to clean, or
no? He's trying to like affect the curl of the path of the rock.
Oh,
It's not the fact that, oh my god, they figured how to manipulate the motion of the rock. What annoys me is the fact that like it's against the rules. Like follow the rules, right?
I guess. I don't know. I have a hard time with this just because I feel like the way her sweeping has evolved so much over the years, and it's really evolved with just this team. I mean, we've talked about how it really looks unusual how Brad just backs up and starts sweeping backwards.
Yeah.
And which is something you would never teach. It's still foreign to me. And this team has done a lot of work with different curling physicists, I assume, out at the University of Alberta. And if they figured out anything that will give them a slight advantage through some kind of new sweeping technique, they're going to do it. So yeah, so I guess you're right. Brad must have something on that. And maybe they're doing it because everybody's attitude these days is that there really are no more sweeping rules. But you're right. This is still printed. So,
and this brings me to my next point. So up until yesterday, they did it every game and like every other rock, draw, take out, whatever, they were doing it. And this brings us to their only game yesterday against the Netherlands. Another thing we commented a lot on the Brier, and I've kind of seen here, is there's a lot of like borderline hogline violations.
Actually, and they did have the electronic handles, I think, for one draw, and then they took them off
faulty
because they were so terrible.
So here's my thing. There are a lot of hogline violations, and you can make the argument like, yeah, if they release it like literally just after the hogline, does it make a huge difference? Not really. And if everyone's doing it, that's fine. But here's Canada violating a sweeping rule, and then they're playing against these poor Dutch boys that they're destroying.
Yeah, that was not pretty.
In the like third end, Molding was like, oh, can we get a hogline official on the Dutch team? Or like, I guess the official will then be monitoring both teams. But they're basically saying like, oh, they're really like getting really close to the hogline. Can we get an official? Like, this is the bad taste this what leaves a bad taste in my mouth is like if
Hmm.
you want to reinforce the rules of something that's kind of borderline, like it's true, in all fairness, they're allowed to do that and you're not allowed to cross the hog line. But like if you're kind of borderline not following the sweeping rules and then you're going after a team that you're destroying because they're kind of borderline passing the hog line rule, like that's not good sportsmanship in my mind. It's not a good look.
Oh yeah, I agree with. Well, I can't really comment because I haven't seen this. I wasn't home yesterday when this game happened, and it's not yet on YouTube, although I'm sure it will be. But I really liked the point that you made that this is a tough subject. I mean, a rule is a rule, and I know people get called, or sometimes it's kind of seen as against sportsmanship to call out or to try and enforce something. But then again, it's a rule for a reason. But then again, if your team is doing something that's questionable, which I think you really do have a case here, I think it looks pretty bad. And I really like what you said too, that no disrespect to the Dutch team, but you could let them slide halfway down the ice before they let go of the rock, and you should still win this game.
Exactly. It's not like it was a tight game or anything. Well, at that point, I guess it was still early, but they were dominating against the Dutch. The point you said that, a rule's a rule, true, but there is that gray area and that good sportsmanship. Just to give an example, like let's say, okay, if you burn a rock, even this rule, I guess, is people have there's no consensus, and I think there is a difference between worlds and Canadian rules, but let's say you're sweeping it into the house, right? And like the rock is about to stop and you just like touch like the handle or something. Like it really does not affect the outcome of the shot.
Right.
But technically, you as the non-offending team, you're technically allowed to remove the rock. But like, would you?
Yeah, and this is the famous Rachel Homan incident at the Olympics, right? Against the Danish team, where
Yes.
just as it came into rest, they burnt it and she removed it right away, and she took a lot of heat for that.
Dude, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this when it happened. Like, yes, Rachel Holman was fully in the right to do it, but would I do it in her place? No.
I wouldn't either, but I have a hard time with it because I don't support that kind of thing. However, she's at the Olympics and I'm sitting here on my couch. So I've
That's
never
true.
been at, if like I'm playing at the Olympics, I might take things like very, very seriously. And so even though I didn't like it, it made me uncomfortable too, but I don't really think it's fair to go after her for something that was, I don't know, I'm undecided. I don't want to take a side to it.
I guess here's kind of what would sway my decision on removing it or, reinforcing a rule that like you could kind of let slide is just to see like how the other team is playing. Like when did it seem like it was intentional? Was that like an obvious intentional tap to try and slow it down versus like the brooms kind of got stuck to not stuck together, but like hooked and something happened like with no effect really on the outcome. I'd be more inclined to leave it, even if it was an Olympic game. But if the other team is just being very like hostile and it's just not like a pleasant game, then you betcha.
Oh yeah, but generally, like we've curled for a long time, and that's usually not an issue. And like the Danish team that was involved here, they weren't doing anything wrong, and
No,
I'm pretty sure this Dutch team yesterday was doing nothing wrong.
like it didn't come out of left field, this request, because even before they did it, I was like, I pointed at the TV. I'm like, that came really close to being a hog line violation. And because I was at my parents and they had cable, we were able to rewind and did like a
And you
frame by
could do
frame.
the slow motion replay.
Yeah, and it was like I don't even think a hogline official would have been able to catch it. It was so close. All that to say, after that game and the US game this morning, or even during that Dutch game, they weren't doing the sweeping thing.
Okay,
So
interesting. So yeah, and also I've always hated hogline violation rules, and they're just they've never been a fun thing to have to deal with, which is why I do like the electronic handles when they work.
which they rarely ever do.
Yes, these things are are so not reliable.
I don't think there's been one event where there has not been a issue with those handles.
Oh yeah, they seem to cause more trouble than they do help us out. But just on the subject of these things that cross the line, like this is from a while ago. I don't know if you remember this, but a certain curler who, okay, well I am going to mention him because it was on TV. Ryan Fry. back when he was curling with Brad Jacobs, and when they were like really one of the best teams in the country, they were playing somebody at the Briar who I don't remember who, but it was like their first time there. And you're playing Brad Jacobs. It's got to be pretty intimidating. And so somebody shoots a rock, and he's calling his line, and Ryan Fry comes up while he's calling the line and hits him in the back leg with his broom because his knee was on the ice.
What?
And you're not supposed to kneel on the ice, but like he's calling the line, his knee's on the ice for a second, and Ryan Fry actually comes and like shoves it with his broom, like, hey, get off the ice. And that I remember getting really upset about is like, ask him politely to get his knee off the ice. And that was clearly to me, and I could be overanalyzing here, but I'm going to go for it. Clearly, that was Ryan Fry saying, I'm going to rattle this team.
Yeah, an
They're
intimidation
already
tactic.
intimidated. I'm going to rattle them as much as I can. And also, what a hypocrite, sorry, because Ryan Fry sprawls all over the ice with all his hands when he...
But he's also not the only one. A lot of these
No,
guys
they all
do it.
do it.
Yeah.
They all do it.
Just like all of these guys are all borderline hogline violators.
Exactly. It was, to me, it was just a tactic to try and get them on edge, and it worked.
Yeah.
And I've seen that in like when we play as well. Like, well, fortunately, we don't really do much competitive anymore. But back in our competitive days, I'd been around teams where they were like, stand right by the hog line and get ready to yell at them when they. And it's just that, is that what we're really teaching?
I get it. A rule's a rule, and everyone should respect it. But there is also that gray area, you know.
Mm-hmm. How nice is it though? Like, let's be positive for a second. How nice is it though that we play a sport where this is not, we don't have a means to enforce this, and 99.9% of the time this is not an issue. So shame on you if you make it an issue.
The only problem is that when it does become an issue, it becomes a big issue because
no one knows what to do. Wait, somebody's breaking a rule?
Yeah, well, it was just like a poor Laycock who broke the ice during the Briar. It was like, oh man, that was that's an issue that there's actually like no solution for really, besides I guess the way they handled it. All that to say that, you know, I was kind of excited for Botcher, but now that I'm watching Botcher all the time and just seeing that, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's not to blame Botcher.
No.
One of the things, I always lose a little bit of interest in everything by the time the Worlds roll around, just because we've been watching so much curling and the weather's getting nice outside. I'm kind of ready to move on from curling into something else, although that's pre-pandemic. These days, I don't know what I want. But one thing is that we see the Canadian team over and over and over again, and they don't get the same or the event doesn't get the same treatment. Like the other day, Sweden was playing Switzerland while I think Canada was playing, I believe, Denmark or something. And I'm sorry, how is Sweden-Switzerland not the feature game? I'm not saying that I'm cheering against Canada, or I'm a proud Canadian, but at the same time, I don't want to watch that game. I want to watch Edin versus De Cruz.
Yeah, but to be fair, though, I don't think it's TSN's decision.
No, exactly. Yeah, I'm not calling them out. They have to do what they're doing. It's just saying, from a curling fan's point of view, like, that's the game to see.
I think that's why we're going to have to wait till the playoffs, and it'll get a little more interesting. Then that's when they kind of play all the games. But yeah, I found myself watching, when I was watching the Switzerland Canada game, like I wanted Canada to win to it, but like a little part of me was kind of rooting for Switzerland.
Oh, I don't blame you. I kind of was in love with the way Benoit Schwartz was just, he doesn't even skip. Like, he throws the last rock and he's just like, yeah, whatever, call whatever for me, gets in the hack, launches these rocket in-offs, and just no problem.
Yeah, I love it. Another cool thing that I saw with the Swiss is, so you know, in Switzerland, they have like 5 million official languages. But the team is actually French, except for one guy who's learning French. And I was telling my mom the other day, and I was like, I don't know if it's just their voices or the Swiss French accent, but I find it very funny to listen to them talk.
It's very, yes, like we live in Quebec, but it's a very different French than what we hear in Quebec.
Oh yeah, but it's not even like a Parisian French. It's a very different French from, or not very different.
It's true. Well, it's closer to Parisian French than it is to Quebecois.
Yes, but it's a little.
But there's some nuances, yeah.
Like, I wouldn't say they're from Paris or anything. If I heard them speak, it's quite different. But then again, I also don't know if it's just like their natural voices as well. So that I thought was kind of funny. And then, you know, obviously they're just in, like, they're speaking French, and then they're just adding like English words there, and they're like, oh non, mais on va la frapper, la faire spinner là. And I'm like,
Although that to me is very Quebecois.
well, that's what
I
they're
think we
saying.
kind of pioneered that.
Yeah, so I don't know, they're very good team to watch. And anyways, all that to say, so when we did our picks for who's gonna win, and you put De Cruz and I put Botcher,
I'm feeling pretty
I
good.
kind of want to change my pick and go for De Cruz now instead of Botcher.
I know. Well, now that we've said that, something drastic will happen. But you know what, Kelly? You were saying that, or I made the very bold decision to put Edin on the outside looking in, and a shaky start for our good friend Nicholas Edin. Barely pulled it out this morning against, who are they playing?
Against Scotland?
Yeah, that's right, Scotland. So that's a big win for them, and actually they're in pretty good shape now. They've had a
Mhm.
tough start to their schedule, so the fact that they're 4-2 is at this time of recording is not bad.
I think it was yesterday's game. Yesterday's game, Edin lost it, but he made like a really stupid call.
Oh, right, when he gave up 3 to Norway.
I
Yeah,
was like, why did you do that? Why did you throw that much weight?
they've been throwing like a crazy amount of weight all weekend from what I've seen.
Yeah, and like you don't
I mean, I
need
know they're
to.
known for that and they do it well, but as Russ and Cheryl have been pointing out, the Rocks are so lively. That was a bingo square, I remember, by the way, that the Rocks are so lively. But really, you don't need to blast them like that.
No.
You lose all control.
Yeah. Well, it's like you just hit it off on the wrong side of the inch there and you're gone. Like there's no it's not forgiving.
Hmm.
Maybe it's that cap he's wearing that's changing. It's added weight and he's just totally unbalanced or something in his
Yes,
delivery. I don't know, but and I think you have a comment on that hat too, right?
I think so. Yeah. Are we heading down the fashion
Oh,
road
we're
here?
going there.
Okay, yeah. So, a usual comment that comes up whenever we've got these events is our thoughts on the uniforms. And you know what? Let's start with our good friends from Sweden there, because I'm not impressed. So it looks like Nicholas Edin has an illegal hat with a sponsor that is not CCA or Curling Canada approved, because he's wearing a black baseball cap that clearly has a big strip of black duct tape running across whatever logo is on the front. There's also a smaller piece of duct tape off to the side. So I'd love to know what it is, but yeah, good luck.
Yeah. Do you love the cap that much that you have to wear it with the logos hidden?
Yeah,
And he's never worn a hat in the past.
yeah, it's interesting. Eh? I don't remember
Yeah.
seeing him wearing a hat.
It's very common. It's a very well, first of all, baseball caps are a very North American thing. Like you go to Europe and if you wear a baseball cap, you don't even have to open your mouth. People are going to think you're American. So I don't know. Maybe Edin's been spending way too much time in Canada and he's adopted the North American way of life.
I wonder. They do spend a lot of time here.
Get yourself a black baseball cap. Or I mean, even I don't know if Sweden could like provide them a yellow or blue baseball cap with Sweden written on it. I don't
You would
know.
think, like, yeah. And by the way, just one other thought on Sweden, because you and I have disagreed on this before. You have said that you're a big fan of Swedish curling jerseys. I'm not so much, but I don't like these ones.
Yeah, not a big fan.
I know, and people are going to say, what's wrong with them? They're always the same. Yes, they are always yellow and blue. But for me, like, the thing that I like, and I think you pointed this out, is the three crowns are iconic,
Yeah.
right? Don't even have them on their
Yeah.
back. It's just Sweden.
Yeah, or even just it's still better than some of the other teams, but
It's true, but I feel like Sweden mailed it in this year.
yeah, compared to previous years, it's a little
Hmm.
meh. Well, speaking of hats, one new thing that we saw this year is the introduction of a toque worn by
Oh,
the Norwegian skip.
I love that too. I bet you don't, right?
Oh, I don't mind it. It's all
Okay.
right.
No, I really like the toque, but this is the Norwegian skip and he hasn't been wearing it the whole time. But a few of the games he's been wearing this really nice toque with the Norwegian flag taking up the whole thing.
Mhm.
I really like that hat. Actually, I was supposed to go to Norway last year, and then something called COVID happened.
Oh
But
no.
I would have bought a hat like that while I was there.
Yeah.
That looked really nice.
What's kind of interesting though is that he doesn't always wear it for the full game. He'll take it off halfway through or something. And
Interesting.
I'm just like, oh, I guess was your head getting too hot there? I don't know.
Oh, interesting. But here's the thing we have to acknowledge, Kelly, and
Hmm.
it's that I don't care how nice a hat it is, it cannot make up for the fact that these are the worst pants we've ever seen anyone from Norway wear. They're completely black.
So
I'm so
boring.
disappointed. The worst part is I get it. It's a new team. They kind of probably don't want to always be tied to Thomas Elsrud, but they've got Torger
I
Nørgaard there.
know.
To see Torger in black pants, I was sad.
I'm sure he's not used to it either.
Oh, I'm sure Torger is sitting there going, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Why am I even here?
But you know what? Norway's at the top of the leaderboard right now. So clearly those black pants are doing them some good.
I suppose, but it's just not the same.
I know.
But yeah, congratulations to Norway. What a start.
I'm surprised. I never would have expected.
True, although if I just pull up the schedule, they have had a
Pretty
pretty easy, like the teams they've beaten at this time of recording are China, Denmark, Korea, the Netherlands, and Sweden. So
Okay.
they got a big win over
Yeah.
Sweden, but the other four they're
Okay. So they're
considerably
going to be meeting
ahead
the
of.
stronger teams.
Yeah, they've got a tough end of their schedule, so we'll see where they end up. But still,
We'll see how the other teams do. Because let me tell you, Schuster this morning was not the Schuster that was playing earlier this week.
no, but that's one of the things that I'm enjoying about this is that if you're kind of just a casual curling fan, you might look at the Canada US game and say, "Oh, well, Canada's way better." But it's always interesting to think that Canada hammered the United States. They lost to Switzerland, and last night the US beat Switzerland
Yeah.
and outplayed them too. So you never know.
Yeah. You never know which team is going to show up. And that's why we always say it's never good to bet on curling games. But do you know what we've been doing this year? It's doing a lot of
Oh,
betting.
it's true. That's true. Oh, but just before that, one more uniform talk or one more uniform talk. Oh, that's all kinds of good grammar. So let's see. We've called out Sweden. We've identified Norway. I don't know if you've had there. I find a lot of them are really boring. Like the Japan uniforms to me are just so blah.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they spent maybe $20 on those. There's some also. I'm just looking at the teams.
Do you want to know what my least favorite is?
What's your least favorite?
The Dutch.
The Dutch?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Like, it's all orange. That's fine. I don't have a problem with the orange. It's the like black and white swoosh they have on.
Yeah, it is a little bit awkward.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of the
I
design.
I don't care for it either, although I prefer it to the ones that are just like
White.
polo shirts with
Yeah.
nothing on them. The other one I'm not I'm not crazy about Italy either. I felt they were a little bit boring too.
With all the blue.
Yeah, but because I know it's blue, it's just but there was nothing to it. Like it needed a little
Yeah,
something.
that's true. But Italy.
I like Scotland.
Oh, I'm not a fan of Scotland. Well, yeah, Scotland's
Really?
good.
Like it's a bit out there,
Do you know?
but that's the thing. It's a lot of the teams are putting a whole bunch of stuff and others are putting next to nothing. I think the happy medium is some sort of minimalism, but there's a difference between minimalism and nothing.
Do you know what I noticed with the Scottish team? So for Scotland, usually you have like the cross
Right?
to represent the flag. But they got this. I don't know if it's a new logo or like how long it's been around, but they have it on the back and then also on the side there and it says like Curling Federation. But it's
Mhm.
like a rock with a whole bunch of like swirly lines around it.
Yeah, some kind of logo.
Yeah, I don't like it. That's what I don't like about their outfits. Everything else on the shirt is fine. It's just
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that either, but I like the design of the jacket.
yeah. So I don't know where that logo came from, but
No, it's true. I'm curious. And just quickly, what are your thoughts on Canada?
I like them.
I'm okay with them. I find it's a weird maple leaf on the back to me. It seems to be I don't know. It's made up of these weird shapes. I find. What I'm not crazy about is the Canada written across the chest.
Oh,
It looks like to me like somebody was printing it and their printer ran out of ink.
I like it actually. I do
Really,
find the whole vibe of this shirt has a little futuristic look to it, just because of the font and how the maple leaf is. But I like Canada.
it's not the worst I've seen, but I don't know the thing on the front with the running out of ink is a little weird to
Well,
me.
you know what? I think it's a million times better than the Briar shirts we saw this year.
Yeah, that's true. I prefer them to that. And hey, good acting skills because we've already had this conversation. No one will know.
um, but another team that I kind of liked their jackets is that famous country RCF.
Yeah, those are interesting.
Yeah,
I thought they would be the lamest ones of the bunch, that they would just be completely white or
with the
something like
lowest
that.
budget.
Yes,
But no, they're actually really good. And of
they're not
course, you
bad.
don't know, RCF is the Russian Curling Federation because they technically cannot curl under their own country or flag due to doping violations in Russia in general, not just curling.
And they too are off to a great start at this time of record. They too have had a pretty easy schedule so far with
Okay,
respect, but
but they're still doing
yeah,
good.
5-1.
Yeah, I feel like Russia is one of those teams too that like they've either done really well or relatively well or just at the bottom of the pack. But I think there's been a couple teams coming in and out of Russia. So this guy is
Hmm.
pretty young and new. So
Yeah, good future for Russia once we can call them Russia again.
yeah, exactly.
That's step one.
Exactly.
But yeah, sorry, I cut you off before, and you were mentioning how sports is kind of boring these days when you can't watch them at a bar with friends or things like that. But what we can do is gamble on them, or make predictions that are very wrong. And so we have tried our hand at that this week.
At the moment, we're not doing too bad. I think every draw we've had made like we either got them all or we had one mistake.
Right. So this is something that Curling Canada put out. They have a contest where you can create a little account and pick the winners of every draw of the world, or every game of every draw of the World Championships. And I think we've made a little account. We logged in. We've gotten almost everything right. The funny thing is that we're doing this together as a team. So actually, I should tell you, I went in and changed.
Oh, that's totally fine.
Like, I wonder if this will create arguments down the road. But we are doing this together, just to see where we stand. We're tied for 720th overall right now. And I have to say, that's pretty good because we slept through the first draw. Like, we didn't even notice it in time. So we went 0 for 4 in the first draw.
I think last time I checked, or last time I put in my picks, we were tied for 2,700 and something spot.
Yeah, I think we went 4 for 4 this morning. So I think and I looked at it last night and I was really seriously debating changing your pick of Canada over the US to the US over Canada. I'm glad I didn't. Yeah, I left it alone.
There are a
So
couple countries that kind of make me think, like, I don't know. Like, I think now we can safely say that Germany and China will are not likely to win their games, but there are a couple countries that I'm just like, "Oh, but like, it could be
some of
kind
them
of
are
an
hard.
upset, you know?"
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if you want to win these things, you got to predict the upsets when they're going to happen,
Yeah,
which is something we were not good at during the mixed, and it's something we're not really good at
but
now.
I feel like at least for the Worlds, because oftentimes it's the same teams that come back, that we have a little better intuitive,
Right.
how do you say, decision making. Um, our picks are a little more intuitive, like, we can go with our gut
That's
feeling.
it.
It's a little
Yeah.
more reliable, so
And one more thought on it. It's that so this is I forget who the sponsor is. I think it's 40 Creek, the whiskey company
yeah.
or distillery for this. So that's one of the other reasons we signed up for this, because hey, winning free prizes is nothing wrong with that. Although
Have you
I
looked at
should
the
have known
prices?
better. Wait, what are they? I thought it was just whiskey.
No, it's not at all.
Oh, it's something better then,
No.
right?
So the first top prizes are 2 tickets to the next Briar and Scotties, which like those are
Okay,
fine,
well that's a good
but
prize.
also doesn't include
Thunder Bay in March.
yeah, but it doesn't include you getting to Thunder Bay. It's the tickets.
Oh, it's just oh dear.
But on top of that, what you get are 2 bar stools.
Oh, hey, I could use some bar stools.
And the next well, that's why I said if we win, not that we can't because we're in Quebec.
Well, that was the heartbreaking part, is that I was like, "Hey, look, this must be fun." And then I said, "Wait a minute, there's no way we can actually win this, because if you're not familiar, any contest like this that's open to any Canadian does not include Quebec. We have very strict lottery laws in Quebec that means we're basically not allowed to have fun and enter these things."
Exactly. Well, you know what? Even if we did, I would delegate all the prizes to you because yeah.
Even after I get in there and like take away your correct picks and make them wrong.
Exactly, because the prizes were they gave away a lot of bar stools, sometimes 2, sometimes 1, depending on where you landed. And then the like last prize was like a wilderness survival kit to go camping. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't read that part.
yeah. It's at the bottom,
I am not much of a camper.
so no whiskey involved. So yeah, for me, this is just for fun and see how we can
Yeah,
end up.
at least at least considering we're not even eligible, at least it's nice of them to keep score for us and tell us that we're tied for 720th right now. But we're climbing.
Yeah, so we can come back next week with our final score. I think this will probably be our best event picks to date.
Oh yeah, and there will be a playoff bracket because the one thing just quickly about the format is that there's so 14 teams, a full round robin, kind of crazy, but no tiebreakers
Mm.
if there's a tie. Although at least like I kind of hate the no tiebreakers thing. However, they're taking 6 teams instead of 4. So if you don't make it, kind of like you don't deserve
And
it.
FYI, those 6 teams that make it automatically get a spot to the Olympics next year. Very important.
So high
Could
stakes.
you imagine if you get or you don't make it into the top 6 because of a shootout?
A bad shootout.
And then that means you have to play down, and there's going to be another qualifying event in December for teams to get into the Olympics, but the only 2 teams will get in. Plus China.
There's a really good chance that happens.
Yeah, and then plus China if China doesn't qualify, which they probably won't.
They're not on pace to right now,
No.
let's just say.
So they'll get an automatic berth just because they're host country. But that's
Mhm.
also all to say if the Olympics even happen next year. So
I think they will, though. I mean, with the way should sports be happening, I don't think so. I mean, actually, have you heard like with the Vancouver Canucks how they have like
yes.
20 players or something now with the variant and they're legitimately sick. Like I don't know if sports should even be happening, but there seems to be this mentality of we're going to push sports through no matter what.
Yes, there's a pandemic going on, but I think it was also for some geopolitical reasons too. Not just I don't know if you read the news recently, Rob, but China's not a very popular country at the moment. So I think it's
No.
more for those reasons, as opposed pandemic involved as well, but it's not solely that. Yeah, I'm sure they will go forward. And anyways, if anyone really wants it to go forward, is Team Jamie Sinclair.
Yeah, imagine that. That'd be the worst ending to that experiment you've lived for a year. The Olympics are canceled.
I think that would be like the end of that team.
So, all this to say though, with the playoffs, there will be 6 teams making it. The top 2 will get a bye, which means they will follow some kind of bracket format. And you know what that means, Kelly?
What does that mean?
I don't know. I was hoping you would answer that. No, it just means that we can make more bad predictions, and it means we have more math ahead of us, I think.
Well, I think we're doing pretty well in math.
That's true, yeah. They brought up the Fibonacci sequence and everything last time. Yes, so if you listened through all of that and you're still with us, congratulations. But yeah, so we'll make our predictions by the end of the week. We'll put them on our Instagram account. And yeah, follow us on Instagram.
At behindthetee.curling.
You know what? Actually, just before we go, I don't know. I don't know too much about social media and Instagram and things, but I do know that we're better than we give ourselves credit for. For one thing, it's just a matter of time before Tom Brady follows us.
Mm-hmm.
But we were talking about this yesterday. After the Canada-Switzerland game, Team Botcher made a post on Instagram saying like, "Oh, tough game. We're on the losing side, but we played well." But in the little graphic, it showed Canada 6, Switzerland 4.
I love how you call it a graphic, like it's the Instagram post.
It's the okay.
The image.
Thank you. Yes, you can be the translator for me.
Yeah, but yeah. So you said that Canada put themselves as the winner,
right? Like their caption said that, "Oh, tough game. We were on the losing side," but in the image it says Canada 6, Switzerland 4. And then the funny thing is, Team De Cruz puts up a story, post, whatever, that says that they have won that game, but they got the score wrong too. Less of a mistake for them. They took 2 in the extra end, so they won 6-4. They had it written as they took 2, but 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 2. They had 5.
Oh, they didn't follow that Fibonacci sequence.
I know, not a big deal, but I was thinking that's pretty funny that both teams got the score wrong.
That's
It
true.
just made me think, hey, we're not world championship caliber, but you know what we can do? We can count.
I mean, that means a lot.
It does. I'm feeling pretty good about myself right
Maybe
now.
we should
So
have been like, hey, clearly you guys don't have enough Instagram skills. If you want, we can take your, like, over your account.
that's right. That's a bold statement for, well, maybe not for you, but for me, that would be. All that to say that if you're going to be sponsored by a watch company, you should get your numbers right when you post things on
Yeah.
Instagram.
And not just any watch company. Like, I didn't find what brand it was, but they look
But they
very
look
nice.
nice.
And also
Yeah.
the fact that they're from Geneva, Switzerland, I don't think they were cheap watches.
And I think also, Kelly, this is the first time that we say good things about, or only good things about a sponsor over the air here. So I don't know if they're listening to us in Switzerland, but just saying.
I mean, everyone needs a good watch.
I know.
Because these days you never know when your cell phone's battery's gonna die, and you can never go wrong with a trusty old watch. So just throwing that out there. So do you have any parting thoughts or final things you want to say about the world so far?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
No, I think we've covered a lot. It's been pretty enjoyable, I have to say. Some good games and everything. What I'm noticing right now is just that the seems really two tiered. There's a bunch of teams that are looking really good. There's a bunch of other teams that are. There's very little middle ground right now,
Yeah.
so it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the week plays out.
Yeah, and I think we're kind of seeing that now, how there's kind of like two packs, like you said, and you can tell some teams are starting to break away and form that top echelon, and the ones that unfortunately might be relegated back to the European Bs come next year. So, but it
Mhm.
is nice to see. I always appreciate the Worlds just to see like teams that aren't Canadian.
Yeah, I do enjoy the Worlds. I just and again, I'm not anti-Canada here. It's just I know I would appreciate it more if we got it from a unbiased perspective. If it was just you
Yes.
focus on this game versus this game because this is the one to watch. Whereas always from the Canadian lens, just because again, with respect, I don't really need to see Canada play the Netherlands. So
Yeah.
actually, credit to Darren Molding for the whole hogline thing because that game was probably going to be pretty painful to watch. Gave us something to talk about.
But no, you bring up a good point though. I think the TSN crew, I mean, they do a good job, but I do think they're incredibly biased towards the Canadian team. And
Hmm.
if you ever experience, like if ever you're in a situation that you're in a curling circle that's not Canadian, let's say they don't always share the same mentality.
Yeah, we're the bad guys, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We're that team from sports movies that everybody hates.
And sometimes they hate just like, I mean, haters gonna hate, right? But other times I think it's a little justified. And I'm just gonna say it. I think that hogline, pulling the hogline official, is not gonna stand good for
It
other.
won't help
No.
in terms of the image, yeah, and just one more final thought. It's that I think it's actually I've always been of the opinion that Canada doesn't need to win these things. Let's get to the Olympics. Let's make sure of all of that. But and I'm not saying that I'm cheering against Canada, but I'm just saying that I kind of enjoy seeing other countries win. It's kind of like I enjoy seeing random provinces win the Brier Tournament of Hearts rather than always the same ones. To me, it just means more for the sport. It means more for the growth and development. And I know, actually, you brought this point up that I say that all the time. And did like the Olympic gold medal for the United States actually grow the game? Maybe, maybe not. It can't hurt.
But no, yeah, I kind of agree. Like, it is nice to see other teams win and whatnot. I think my support on that argument will vary depending on who is representing Team Canada. Because, I mean, just like any Canadian, we have our favorite teams. We prefer some teams more than others. So I think that kind of sways your perception of how well you want Canada to do in the Worlds, if you care to see them win the gold or not. All right. Well, I guess that wraps up this episode. And we'll come back to finish this conversation next week once we know who the winner is.
Yeah, stay tuned for our next bracket.
Bye.